Colton Herta is headed to Formula One. Will Power is staying in IndyCar. Druski went to the Southern 500 and dressed up a certain type of way, which we'll talk about. We also need to talk about NASCAR's fastest lap point, as well as our Formula One race is too long, and Kyle Busch and his wife, they just need to chill. Welcome back to Break Hard. I'm Matt. We're going to start off with Kyle Busch and Samantha Busch, honestly, because they just need to chill. If you watch enough of their content or you see it pop up enough, there's some underlying like sexual tension in their videos at times, and you're like, okay, guys, like this, I thought this was a family show. I thought that's what this was. But at times they maybe, want to, talk about some things. Well, Kyle Busch on Tuesday posted a brand deal, a video for, I don't know, some sort of testosterone place in Charlotte or surrounding areas. I have no idea. I don't need it, so I'm not 100% sure what exactly they do there. But in that video, I'm going to say this in the nicest way possible. You have kids, cover their ears real quick. And I mean this with all due respect to Kyle Busch and his wife. Kyle Busch fucks. Like, he just does. And that video right there absolutely proves it. Nobody owns a microphone in that entire video. That part of it absolutely infuriated me. But why don't you just say the quiet parts out loud here, guys? It was just a little too obvious for everybody that was watching. But hey, good for Kyle and good for his wife. They seem to have a nice, healthy relationship now. So congrats to them. Carry on doing what you're doing, but dang. All right, let's get into what we want to talk about today. We're going to start off with IndyCar silly season and one of the worst kept secrets over the last week. Colton Herta is leaving IndyCar. He is headed to Formula One in 2026 to take on that test role at the Cadillac Formula One team. Obviously, Cadillac F1 is owned by TWG Motorsports, who also owns Andretti Global. So this is really just a move within the company for Colton Herta. But no mention if he's going to have race an F2 season next year. Those rumors have been floating around that F2 teams have been approached about potentially fielding Herta next year. All of this is an attempt for him to get those 40 super license points so that he can race in Formula One. Currently, he's sitting at 35. He could do 5, free practice one outings in 2026 and get those points and then, have the 40 that he needs. He could race in Formula 2, finishes top 8. He's got the points he needs. If he finishes in the top 3, he gets 40. So he'd have 75 super license points at that point. So that could all work out for him. Who's going to replace him at Andretti Global next year in that number 26 car? That would be Will Power, who leaves Team Penske after 17 years and essentially elected to leave himself. He made the decision for them because they refused to make a decision in a timely manner. Basically, Power was tired of being strung along, didn't want to negotiate a one-year deal just to do this all again next year, and made the decision to just go ahead and leave Team Penske. Made the decision for them because they just didn't want to make a decision on their own. So he leaves there, joins Andretti Global, and I want to take the time right now to congratulate Will Power on getting pole at St. Petersburg next year, because Will Power with those Andretti dampers on a street course, it could potentially be lethal. Like, he's going to be really, really good. Power will be 45 next year and doesn't show any signs of slowing down, says that he wants to race until he's 50. We'll see how all of that plays out, but they could not have got a better replacement for Colton Herta in that number 26 car. Power is going to be really, really strong next year, assuming that Andretti Global, maintains their current status. In performance, I don't see any reason why you should see a dip over there, especially with Kyle Kirkwood being as good as he was this year at times. And then Marcus Ericsson obviously didn't have a very good year, but, hopefully he rebounds next year as well. And hey, maybe Will Power can give that 26 car a good run at the Indianapolis 500, because the last few years it feels like Colton has been a bit snake bitten at times. So Herta's headed off to Formula One, in that pursuit to get his super license points. Might be the highest paid test driver out there right now. His rumored IndyCar deal is $7 million. I can't imagine he's taking a pay cut to go over and do this. And at the same time, they're getting Will Power, who is a two-time champion, 2018 Indy 500 winner, 46 plus wins in the IndyCar series, like the 71 poles. The guy is just absolutely phenomenal behind the wheel of a race car and outperformed both of his Penske teammates who still have jobs as well. So that is our IndyCar silly season wrap up. Let's get into what happened at the Southern 500 this weekend, because comedian and social media star Druski was there. And while everybody else was watching Chase Briscoe go out there and absolutely dog walk the entire field, Druski did a skit in the infield pre-race before the Southern 500 where he dressed up as a stereotypical NASCAR fan. And shout out to his makeup artist, because they did an absolutely phenomenal job, because Druski's not white, yet he has the most perfect tank top tan you'll ever see, especially this side of the Mason-Dixon line. So for Druski, he looked phenomenal. He's a reverse First, Robert Downey Jr. from Tropic Thunder. Again, I cannot stress enough how good the makeup on it was. The tattoos look great. The makeup looks great. Other than like a little bit of time where that titty meat lifted up and you could see his actual skin color, yeah, he looked very much like a stereotypical white guy, other than the beard didn't match the hair, but whatever. Did a pretty good job with it overall. Now, I do think that this was obviously a partnership with Monster Energy. I've seen a lot of people be like, I can't believe NASCAR gave him VIP credentials for this. And why are they saying that? Because he went very stereotypical NASCAR. NASCAR's been trying to shed this image for a number of years that they're, leave the racism side behind. This is NASCAR. We're not the NASCAR of the past. Things like that. Get rid of the Confederate flag. And Druski didn't fly the Confederate flag. He's out there saying, hell yeah, brother, to America and everything like that. But it's the scenes where other black people are in them with him, which this is all part of the skit. I completely understand that. And he spits at their feet or spits behind them, asks them what they're doing there, if they're sure they're in the right spot, if they're sure they're going to the race, stuff like that. And that's the frustrating part. Funny skit, don't get me wrong. Like Key and Peele have done similar things. Chappelle Show did similar things. I get all that. I'm not here to complain about the funny. I'm fine with it. I don't care if it's whiteface, whatever. Do whatever you want to do. What I'm here to say is from a NASCAR standpoint and from a person that would like to see NASCAR continue to shed that sort of Southern heritage, stereotype that they have. And there's certain stereotypes that come along with being a NASCAR fan. To see it be presented this way was super disappointing, but at the same time, like I get the funny behind it. It's just a bummer to see that because if you look at it on Twitter, Druski, that video has 85 million views. Now, obviously views on Twitter are a fallacy. They're not real, contrary to what Elon Musk says. None of them are real. I'd say it's probably closer to maybe 10 million in the reality of things. But Druski's a big time player in the social media space. He's got 1.6 million followers on Twitter. He's got 10 million followers on TikTok, 10.6 on Instagram, 4.2 million on YouTube. Like the guy's a big deal. He does a lot of funny skits. And I'm glad that he's there for NASCAR, right? I'm glad when these big time creators come out and want to be a part of NASCAR because maybe that'll get some new eyes on the sport. I get it. But man, when we're trying to shed a certain image and then just to have him play right into it is so frustrating at times, just for that reason. But hey, guy's proud to be an American. Can't really fault him for that one. It's just I wonder what the conversations about this were at One Daytona and also within the NASCAR offices in Charlotte, because I can't imagine that there's a lot of brass at NASCAR that were super psyched about this. But hey, Monster Energy got a ton of product placement out of this and got in front of a lot of eyeballs. So on the NASCAR Hauler Talk podcast this week, Mike Ford from NASCAR said that the series has discussed internally about potentially taking away the fastest lap point for a car that's not on the lead lap. Because for the third time this year, after this past weekend's race at the Southern 500, a car that went to the garage came back out and set fastest lap and took that extra point away. Kyle Larson did it twice earlier this year, once at Watkins Glen, once in Mexico. And Josh Berry did it this past weekend at the Southern 500 after he spun and crashed on lap number 1. Now, when teams go into the garage, they fix the car, they bring it back out, there's some concerns that maybe they're cheating up the car and, potentially going out there and making it go faster than it would have because, well, they're out of compliance in a sense. At the same time, they're just going out there with optimal tire pressures, ones that aren't focused on doing a long run, or at least not contending for a win, all in an effort to try to set fastest lap. Like that's just what they're out there to do. They don't care about racing anybody else at that point. And that's what the 21 car did. And NASCAR after the race took the 21 and they teched it as well. They took it through technical inspection and made sure that everything about it was legit. Why would they want to take this away? Well, because they want to, disincentivize teams from doing this if they go, multiple laps down, go to the garage, repair it and everything like that and make it fair. At the same time, I think it does incentivize teams to go repair that car because they can go out there and get an extra point. And we're not talking about a playoff point here. This has no bearing on the playoff. We're talking about just a regular point, just one regular point. And yeah, for Kyle Larson, those 2 points that he got from going to the garage and coming back out did actually help him secure third place in the regular season point standings, which, okay, that's great. It helped him finish ahead of Chase Elliott. At the same time, we're talking about a point. If it was a playoff point, I'd be like, okay, like I can maybe see the difference behind it, but just to go take it away just doesn't make a ton of sense to me. Now, when Formula One had their fastest lap point, you had to be in the top 10 within the points to score at that point. And maybe NASCAR should look at that. You got to be in the top 20, right? Like, or something along those lines. I just think that it seems like issue that doesn't need to be solved. It's happened 3 times. It's not like we're seeing it happen every single week. And ultimately, it's not something that I think a lot of fans are complaining about. I don't think a lot of teams are necessarily complaining about it. At least I haven't seen them complain publicly or even privately for that matter. It just feels like an issue that doesn't need to be solved when we have bigger issues at hand that do, in fact, need to be solved. So yeah, not 100% sure about the thought process there, but we'll see how they decide to rule on it. Formula One CEO Stefano Domenicali thinks that Formula One races are too long. Now, the average Formula One race is 1 hour and 32 minutes long, and Stefano thinks that that's too long for the younger audiences because they're seeing less people tune in for the full race and more people tuning in to watch the highlights on the F1 YouTube channel or wherever else they're posted at. And I think it's a 2-part problem. One, people just don't want to pay for it, so they'll just watch the highlights, and they watch the highlights because there's no sense in paying for something where you know kind of when the action's going to happen. The action happens in 3 points throughout an F1 race, and there's really no reason to watch the other portions of the race other than the outside chance that something crazy might happen there. Obviously, people want to watch the start. All the cars are bunched up together. Something crazy could happen. You never know. Then the pit stop sequence, things get shuffled up a little bit more. Something might happen there. And then at the end of the race, we'll see if the strategies come together, fall apart, and see who wins. Other than that, there's not really an incentive for people to watch the rest of it. And it's not a length of race problem. It's the fact that the on-track product stinks. Like, that's what it comes down to. The on-track product just does not produce compelling racing. So what's the point of everybody sitting around and watching it when you can just watch a 15-minute or 7-minute highlight video, depending on what happens during the race, instead of investing an hour and a half where there's just not much happening there. I don't think that it's an issue that necessarily needs to be solved with shortening races, as Stefano, recommended, potentially having more sprint races. We have sprint races in Formula One. They're cheeks. Nobody really cares for them other than like Brazil. That might be the only good sprint race that we have all year. And then he also talked about doing reverse grids. What's the point of having a reverse grid if you can't pass anybody at the same time? So yeah, I don't know. It seems like a lot of things to try to fix a problem that's the problem's on the track, not the problem's not with the format or the race lengths or anything like that. Got me thinking about NASCAR races. So the average NASCAR race right now is 3 hours and 14 minutes long, double what a Formula One race is. And I see people complain about the length of NASCAR races. Oh, they're too long. Why would you want to sit down and invest that much time? Yet people will sit down and watch college football for 3.5 to 4 hours. And realistically there, you're getting about 15 minutes or less of actual action during that time frame. Meanwhile, with NASCAR, you've got cars going around the track the entire time. And are there dull points of races? Yeah, sure, absolutely. Should NASCAR races be shortened? I would say yes, and a great way of shortening them would be to get rid of the stage breaks. I'm just saying that would help out a lot there. You'd probably shave off 20-ish minutes from each race, which would take you underneath that average time of being under 3 hours. And I think the perfect NASCAR race time is between 2.5 and 3 hours, essentially. Give me like the length of Wolf of Wall Street. Like, yeah, we're good with that, right? I can sit down and watch all of this. I don't necessarily want like the director's cut of Justice League or whatever. I don't know. Insert 4-hour movie time here. I'm not a huge movie guy. So, insert long movie there. Dances with Wolves, Titanic, double VHS set. I don't know. You can figure that out yourself. Regardless, I don't think that NASCAR races are too long. I think there's ways to speed up the races, shorten them in a sense, without taking away laps and taking away mileage and everything like that. I do think getting rid of stages would certainly help speed that up if it does become a big glaring issue that the sport wants to look at. But I do find it interesting that Stefano thinks that 90 minutes is too long, and meanwhile NASCAR's out here rocking 3 hours and 14 minutes or whatever it is, and we haven't really had those discussions on this side of things. So yeah, just something interesting to ponder. I don't think races are necessarily too long. I would like to see them, maybe sped up at times, or there's some tracks where we just go to where you could do with maybe 50 miles less or something along those lines. But regardless, I'm interested to see what people have to say. So let me know in the comments what you think about Kyle Busch and his wife, Colton Herta, going to Formula One. Will Power moving over to Andretti on the IndyCar side of things. The Druski skit from the Southern 500. Are F1 races too long? Like and subscribe to the channel. Follow me on TikTok @BreakHard, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook @BreakHardBlog.